What's up, YouTube? What's going on? Dennis just commented in the chat. What's up, Dennis? And then Jayton or Jatin Rao. I'm not sure how to say your name, but Jayton or Jatin had he messaged me earlier on Twitter with a really positive comment, which was really nice, and said he would be in the chat. And what's up, YouTube? Oh, and here's I do this every time. It's like my first time. I forget to mute me watching the stream. So then that probably just came back through the audio for everyone. I do this every single time. And like, no matter what I do, I can't remember. Dennis, Dennis asked, is it running? Is the stream running? Hopefully it seems okay. It looks like on my end, I can see it at least because I'm kind of watching to keep an eye on. I'm assuming, Brad, you can see it on your end, or if you're watching it. And Brad says, we both look amazing. Ready to go. Boogie Bum is in the chat. I got to talk to Boogie Bum recently on a phone call, which was fun. I've had like several general like Q&A / mentorship calls recently, like 20-30 minutes with kind of random people for the most part. And they've been a lot of fun. It's been just kind of cool to talk about what people are working on and try to help answer a few questions and stuff. So you know, I don't even know if you're alluding to me specifically, but I've personally been thinking about like, I really just like to hang out and talk. And I feel like a lot of my streams could work out really well in a podcast format. Logistically, I don't really want to run one though. So I don't really know if it's something and I already feel like I do too much anyway, but I think it would be fun. And I think I don't know. I feel like I have a lot to say and like at least some people care or maybe not. I don't know, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I end up, I've been on a few different podcasts and I have a blast. It's just fun to hang out and talk and chat. They're usually like so relaxed. And then it's cool to have, like you said, that conversation is recorded. It's there for people to check out later on if they're interested. Sweet. Well, let's go and get started. Like in the last couple of streams, I feel like I've spent too much time before actually diving in. So let's give for me, obviously, friend Brad Garropy is here. I didn't put your name in the title, which maybe would have been a good idea. But Brad Garropy is here to talk about publishing NPM packages, which like I'm actually really crazy, super excited about because I've never had any clue how to do that or what it's like. And it sounds like it's not too bad. Give your intro. I'm going to throw for the people in the chat a few links to your stuff. So one to your NPM page and then to your homepage. And then if you want to give an intro to who you are and what you're interested in and why you're here, that'd be cool. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm cutting you off. They can't hear you. And that is almost definitely my fault. I don't know who's else. Why? Oh, I know why. Gosh, I'm so sorry. All right, people, bear with us. Again, like rookie streamer here for like doing it the millionth time or something. God, I'm so embarrassed. This should come to the multi-output. Brad, can you say something again?
Holla, holla.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I think, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. All right, this should be coming through. Everybody's letting me know. So people are paying attention. That's a good sign. Like if people are willing to help out, that's great. All right. So unfortunately, back all the way up. So who you are, what you do, why you're here, and what you're excited about, and then then we'll be on our way.
Good. Okay. Everybody hear me now. We're clear?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. to roll it back. So I'm Brad Garropy. I'm a front-end developer at Adobe. I touch lots of JavaScript. That's kind of just what I do. I'm lucky enough where I get to work in some really advanced front-end tech. So I get to use React and GraphQL daily. And so that's kind of like my work side of things. But personally, I love the Jamstack. I love static site generators like Gatsby, and I love hooking up those static sites with serverless functions to services like Airtable or things like that, where you can kind of piece together, make your own backend. And in that process of doing all those side projects, I've always kind of run into situations where I need something different than what like the platform offers or than what's already out there. So I've created my own NPM packages along the way, and it's very beneficial for you guys to do that too. Not only for yourself, you know, you can bring kind of some notoriety to yourself by publishing these packages, but you can just reuse them in every project. It's very, very nice. So we're going to talk about that today.
Sweet. And you didn't say this as clearly the second time around. The first time around, Brad took a stab at me, or rubbed it in maybe, that he's got an Airtable shirt and I don't. Because we are both big fans of Airtable, and I've done a YouTube video and I've posted about Airtable and an article, and no one offered to send me an Airtable shirt. So if you know anyone that works for Airtable, or if you're on the stream now, I'm hoping to get an Airtable shirt one day.
You just have to file an issue. There you go. And they're like shirts, stickers.
I'll find an issue. I still have, I talked about this on the stream yesterday. I've got 2 more PRs in Gatsby to be able to earn a hoodie. I want the Gatsby hoodie. So sweet. Well, so my overview, or my like entry level understanding here, is like, to have an NPM package, it's kind of like any JavaScript project. You'll have like a package.json file, and maybe like a simple version is like you have an index.js file, and that's the thing that actually does whatever it is that you want it to do. And then from the command line with npm install, basically what we're going to be able to do is like npm login, and then log in with npm, and then npm publish, and that's it, right? And like then you got a basic thing, and then go ahead.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's one other thing you have to consider. Package.json is also kind of instrumental in telling NPM like what to run and where. So for instance, they have these fields called main and browser. And this tells, or that's your package's way of telling whatever's running it that like, if you're running this in Node, use the main entry point. If you're running this in the browser, use the browser entry point. If you're running this as a binary, they also have a third option called bin. Use this entry point.
Okay.
And so that's kind of like your package's way of broadcasting, like, this is how you use me.
Okay. And the bin one that you mentioned, is that for like if your thing only does something in the command line, like you run it from the command line?
So for instance, think about the Gatsby CLI or the Netlify CLI. You have to install that globally, right?
Yep.
And that goes into your bin folder, your executable folder, and it has a name, right? So you install Gatsby-CLI, the package, but it gets placed in the bin folder as Gatsby so that you can execute a program called Gatsby.
Okay. Perfect. Cool. All right, let's get started. If I'm just out of curiosity for people in the chat, if you've ever done an NPM package before, let me know. If this is your first time like it is for me, let me know that also. And then I've got open an instance of VS Code here, and I think we said we were going to do a live share. So let me sign in with my GitHub, and it's taking me to the browser on the other page, and I can authorize Visual Studio Live Share. I think it will redirect me back here in a second. And starting collaborating session, which, by the way, also curious who's used LiveShare. LiveShare is like the coolest thing in the world, especially for stuff like this. So the invitation link has been copied to my clipboard. So I want to go and grab our chat and drag it over to the other window. And I'll give you a second. Brad's going to open that up on his end, and then we should have like real-time collaboration, which will be cool. In the meantime, while you're doing that, I'm assuming I can get started with this by just running npm init. So just like any other JavaScript project, it's basically just going to create like a stubbed out package.json, and you'll probably have to correct me on like, here's some specific things we need to do along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so npm init, and with the package name, these have to be completely unique inside of npm, right? So I need to have something that no one else will have, which like JQQ test package. I don't know. Usually JQQ is like no one else is using that, so I can usually throw like JQQ in something, which is my initials if you didn't know.
Yeah, there's two ways to do this. One is just make a unscoped global package name, where it's just kind of like a JQQ's package. Or if you want to kind of namespace it, you can use a scoped package where it starts with an at anything you want slash the name of the package.
And I wonder if people have noticed that and really thought about what that means. I'm trying to look at, I think our Auth0 packages are, or at least a lot of them are scoped. Let me look at the Auth0 spa JS. So you can see the scoped part is like where it starts with this prefix of Auth0. And I'm thinking that the scope, it's just the actual username of that account, right? So it's just username slash and then whatever the package is. And we talked about this beforehand. There's a couple of reasons you might want to do that. One is if you have like you want to get a generic package name, then now you can like have the package name be pretty generic, but then also under your scope, so it's more specific to you, kind of like what you're saying. Yep. There's also like there was this big thing in npm a while back where there were some like bad packages that were doing like stealing credentials and stuff, and it was because people thought they were installing one, but they were really installing this other one. And so now a lot of probably most big company packages are going to be scoped so that you know this is actually the real one from them. So it gives you that kind of awareness too.
Yep. And another important thing to consider is if you want it public or private. When publishing scope package are published as private by default, but unscoped packages are published as public by default. Mm-hmm. But of course, you can change that with a flag in the command.
Okay, and we'll get to take a look at that, I think, in a second. Somebody asked, or Kamara asked in the chat, can you tell me the best course of JavaScript and React.js? Well, I just published a React and serverless course. It's not just React. So it's maybe like beginner to intermediate for React, and then it gets into serverless functions. So if you're interested in that, I could put a link in the chat. Also, where I got my start with React is from a Udemy course, which you can get for $10 when they go on sale, by Andrew Mead, who is an amazing content creator, and it's like a 40-hour React course, so you'll learn a ton of stuff there. So that's my biggest recommendation for React for people, is that one by Andrew Mead on Udemy.
I would say for pure JavaScript, hit up Wes Boss Beginner JavaScript.
Yes.
Really, really, really good. Like that teaches you programming from the ground up.
Yes, absolutely.
And then second, for React, I would recommend Scott Tolinsky. His explanations of difficult concepts, I think, come across really clear.
Yep, absolutely. And thinking about, I'll give a little bit more of a plug here for myself. From the perspective of like just JavaScript, I've got a couple of courses, the quiz app and the design and build a chat app, that are vanilla JavaScript focused. So it's just building your own thing with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, something I'm a really big fan of. And hint, you'll see some more of that kind of content coming out in the next couple of months. So keep an eye out for that. All right, so Brad is in the session. I'm going to run with JQQ test package. Hopefully that's unique. I'll start out with version. I'm assuming every time you publish, you need to bump up your version. That's something we'll have to pay attention to. Description, This is a test. Entry point will be index.js by default.
Totally fine.
Test command, I don't need one, I don't think. Can you publish a package without having a reference to...
Yeah.
Okay, to a GitHub
it's not
repo?
Required.
Okay. Keywords, I'm assuming those aren't required either, but JavaScript.
Yeah.
And
you could have easily just put like the -y flag, because those defaults are totally fine as well.
Okay, sweet. Okay. All right, so I'll just run yes, we're good with that. So people have been through like initiating or initializing a JavaScript package, probably pretty familiar. And you get just metadata. This is where like the packages that you install will be installed in your node modules folder, but then the dependencies will be defined in your package.json too. Not doing that right now, but I think the thing you mentioned earlier is like it needs to have either main browser or bin, and it
Yep.
could have multiple of those depending on how you're running it.
Yep.
And so in
So
this
like for
case,
instance,
yeah, go ahead.
a package can be imported as a JavaScript module. In that case, it's going to look at either main or browser, depending on the execution environment, to know what code to run when you import the module. Or if it's executed as a script, it looks at bin.
Right.
So in this case, let's just start with the simplest example. Let's just put a console log statement in an index.js, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. And just kind of a out of curiosity question, using the touch command in the terminal to create a file, and then the code command to open it right in here, just to use the terminal. I don't know if are people familiar with terminal basics like that. If not, let me know also. For some reason, I always go with testy test when I do stuff, which starts to sound a little bit inappropriate with the testy part, but I'm going to run with it just for a little bit of like maybe humor. Before we do next thing, John G is asking, will this webinar also talk about publishing NPM packages with CSS? It's not something we specifically talked about. Brad, I don't know if anything comes to mind about what implications there would be in relation to something related to CSS. I don't know exactly what to think about, so I don't know if you have any thoughts there.
Yeah, I've never published anything with CSS, but it's risky business because it all depends on kind of what environment your users are going to be running this in. Are they running Webpack to allow them to like import your project that imports CSS? Can the loaders handle it? Yeah, so it all depends on like if you're bundling or not, and like what kind of tooling your end users are using.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good point. I forget about like the actual tooling aspect of it after, and I don't know how that all ties together. But let's start simple. We've got our console log, that file, the index.js file, which is referenced again by the package.json main. All that's good and saved. And Dennis is asking what happened with Hello World. Well, this is like we're just completely going off the rails here and doing our own thing. So
we're innovating.
Yes.
We're innovating.
So what would what would be the next step?
Test to see that it works, right? So just run a node index.js.
Okay, so basic here.
Right, I'm trying to kind of just go right up. Okay, yep. Great. So that we're getting it. I'm
going to zoom in for people a little bit too.
Something that's important to do when you're writing NPM packages locally is to understand how to test them locally, right? You don't want to have to push up to NPM only to find out that your stuff doesn't work.
Yep.
So, James, if you could make another folder just called whatever next to the NPM package test directory.
Oh, like back up alongside it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And so what we're going to do is kind of make our package available locally on your machine so that we can kind of import it into the other one.
Okay. Just because I'm obnoxious, I'm going to make the directory of whatever. And then I feel like I should know this. How do I open like another
add folder?
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Where's my selection? So inside of here, here's my whatever. And maybe, all right, honestly, since people are watching and they're like, all right, whatever doesn't help me, I don't know what the hell that's for. Maybe I will rename this to something more appropriate. So let's rename whatever to be NPM Package Tester.
There you go.
And now let's remove this from here. Remove folder from workspace, and let me add the new one. All fun and games until someone looks at this later on. It's like, I don't know what the hell whatever is, so you suck.
I think you clicked the wrong thing.
Did I not do?
Yeah.
Did I just do file? Add folder to workspace.
Go. Yeah.
One day I'll be a real programmer. Tester. Okay. All right. So
Sweet.
we've got both of those open.
So the goal here is to use this thing called NPM link, which is what kind of fakes your system that your package is installed locally.
Okay.
So if you CD back over to NPM package test, we're going to go in there.
All right.
Perfect. And run npm link. So what this actually does is creates a symlink in your node modules folder on your system to this local directory. It
Oh,
acts
okay.
like you installed it.
Okay.
Now you're going to go over to npm package tester.
And I'm just going to open up another terminal down here to do that.
There you go.
Why are my commands not right? Whoa, something changed in my terminal. Okay, got to look at that. What in the world? Oh, this is a new thing because I have 2 projects open. I've never done this before. Okay.
That's nice. Yeah.
Interesting. I learn something new every day. Okay, so now I was in the test, so that's the actual package, and maybe I didn't name that appropriate, but now I'm in the tester, and this is the thing that we want to reference that package. And let's go. Yeah. I wanted to do this anyway, and Coriano, what's up, Coriano, is asking what a symlink is. A symlink is a symbolic link, and it's basically like, let's say you have a file somewhere on your system, and it could be kind of anywhere, but like in theory, I want to reference that file from right here. It's just a simpler path maybe, or like, I want to reference something here regardless of wherever the file is. So you create this symlink of saying like, all right, this file is actually over here, but I'm creating the symlink to be here where I want to be able to reference that file. So instead of this thing being an actual file, it's just a link or a symbolic link or a reference to the file that's wherever on your file system. So in this case, when we say symbolic link, I'm assuming what happens is like wherever global node packages get installed, it's got a symbolic link in there to point to this repository, the NPM package test repository, which has the source code in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sweet. And that's if you've never heard of a symbolic link, I know of it because I was in like IT and like did some of that type of stuff. If you've never heard of that, that's totally fine. Like I never use a symbolic link other than this conversation now in my like day-to-day stuff now. So
in order to refer to this package, go over to the package.json that we defined, and we need to use the name. So this package isn't called npm package test. It is actually referred to as whatever's in this name field.
The JQQ test package.
Yep.
Cool.
So
okay.
Over in npm package tester.
Yep. Do we need
first of all, we'll have to init.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
And as we're learning together,
-y.
-y, I know that and I forget it every time. So -y just does all the defaults. It doesn't ask me all those pesky questions. Cool.
So now you can say npm link jqq dash whatever that was called.
Q package test. And I'm a little curious. So my first instinct I guess that wouldn't make any sense. My first instinct was to actually call the npm install with jqq package test. That doesn't make sense because we're trying to say we want to use something that's already pseudo on our system because of its link. So we're saying like, all right, hopefully in that folder, there is a symbolic link that references JQQ package test, and we're including that as a dependency in this tester.
Yeah.
Okay. And fail. Okay, let's see.
Is the name correct?
That's the
test package.
I can't follow directions to save my life. npm link JQQ test package. Something happened with no errors. That looks good.
So it says it's taking, it's linking npm package tester, node modules, JQQ package test over to the node modules on your system, which then points to the npm package test directory that you have right here, right? Okay. So it's like a triple hop.
Yep. And one observation, natural instinct also would have expected a dependency to show up in the package.json with the tester, but I guess since it's not like a real package from npm, it's just a link. It's not even included in there.
Yeah, exactly. So all this really does is symbolically link, creates kind of a fake copy of JQQ test package in the node modules of npm package tester. You didn't actually declare a dependency or anything like that. This is just kind of faking that it's present in the node modules.
Okay. And the key to that is you mentioned the node modules directory, which if you're a JavaScript dev, you're used to, like when you install packages, that's where they go. when I did a refresh in VS Code, I can see I've got a node modules directory inside of my tester. Inside of that, it's got one directory, which I don't necessarily like how VS Code kind of skips. If you only have one directory, it just shows you everything. Sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's not. But it's basically showing me like these are all the files from that package. And I would imagine, I'm just going to do a test here of
Yep, that's totally right. Yeah.
Something. Then if I refresh in the node modules directory, now it's going to reference that file because it's pointing over and just like referencing everything in that repository. So that's cool.
Perfect. So now we can use it. This is available for use. Well, we're in node land right now. So you can require JQQ test package. And when you do that require statement, our console log should run.
Okay.
So
So
we'll have to make, yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, yeah, it could be anything. So in my app.js, I am pulling in or requiring a package just like I would in Node, just like any other package that I've got installed from NPM.
Yep.
So I'll call require, and then I wonder, I even get IntelliSense of VS Code.
Sure, yeah, because it knows to look inside of node modules.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's already in the node module, so it already knows. Dope. That's cool.
Yep.
And
so perfect. You don't have to call anything because the console log runs as a side effect just from importing JQQ test package.
Okay. And I like testing this, I think will just be like run it. The next step I want to test out is let's export something from here. And we can just export like a say hello function and then require it, get a reference to it, and then call it. And these are like, I don't know what, I'm going to get like a little bit on a soapbox. Like some of the things that you see in JavaScript and you get kind of intimidated, and I certainly feel this way with like imports and exports and like all these complicated things. When you take a step back and you get down to some of the basics, like really just focus on like, all right, at a high level, they're creating something in here that we want to be able to use over here. It helps me. So if you ever get in like a situation where you kind of feel overwhelmed and you don't really understand what's going on sometimes, maybe try to take a step back, just high level what's going on. And then like, if you still don't get it, like ask someone to help fill in the high level gaps and keep those in mind while you try to dig into the details. So,
Oriano has a good question. So require import do the same thing. Yes, that's right. The only difference is that syntax is used in different execution environments. When you're running on a server using Node.js, require is the keyword that you use. But when you're running JavaScript in the browser, import is the keyword that you use. Now, there's all sorts of new stuff coming out, or transpilers or blah, 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 that allow you to do different things in different environments. But that's more advanced. In general, for Node on the server, you use require. And that's what we're doing here. We're not running this in Chrome or in Firefox.
Yep. And I think that can be a tricky thing for people to understand as well. I know Coriano I don't know how far he is in my course, but I know he's enrolled the React and serverless course. And I definitely didn't explicitly say this, but like you work in that project, you work in React, which is front end that runs in the browser. And then you work in serverless functions, which runs in the Node environment on a server somewhere. And you use those things, just like you said, you use import in React, and then you use require in serverless functions. And I think that's a great question to really clarify, because it is a little bit confusing because you are doing the same type of thing. And Brad, like you alluded to, there are different initiatives to try to get rid of the fact, basically, that there's two different ways to do it. And I assuming kind of I think import would be kind of the leading candidate to try to make work on Node's end instead of the other way around. But anyway, yes, you've got the basic idea that they do the kind of the same thing there.
So at this point, I think you can just run node app.js and we should see a console log.
And just quick recap again. In the tester package, we've basically installed the dependency of our NPM package test. Then we created an app.js. We required that thing, which will basically just run this index.js file, and that will log something out. So we should see the log of testy tests.
Hey,
cool.
Okay, so next step, you said you want to try to export something from NPM package test. Sure.
Yeah. So the way we could do this is we could say module.exports. This is basically saying, I guess, the equivalent of like the default export. Like this is the main thing that you're going to export. And we could do something like a function module.exports equals just an inline function, and then that would be the default thing. And we can move our console log down here.
Sure.
So in this case, what we would do is we would come up here and say const something equals require. Since that was basically a default export, we could call this XYZ. It doesn't matter. We're naming it. It's just, yeah, what that thing is coming to me. I could call it whatever. And then I could call the function XYZ. And I don't know if the fact that I'm using XYZ to show that this is an arbitrary name. I don't know if that's helping people or confusing people, but we should see the same thing happen again. So it's getting that thing back and then running it. Another thing we could do is we could create this is a pretty common thing that you see. Create, if I can type, a function called say hello that, or say testy test, like this. And we could do a module.exports again, and we could export an object that has different properties in it. In this case, we could export say hello. From there, we could actually still have this be the default export and call it XYZ, but then we would call the say hello function. And actually VS Code is badass because I'm already getting IntelliSense. More likely what you'll see is people going ahead and just destructuring say hello off of that object. So you could just do it like this. This should still, not that, but running node again should still do the same thing. And there's one, is there another way? Like there's module.exports and you're kind of setting like the whole thing. And then is it just module.export to do an individual thing?
I have to look every time.
Let's look at, yeah. And I think this is important for people to see as well. Like, oh, that's not where I wanted to go. This is where I wanted to be. Module export node. So like, just so you know, people who do this stuff every day, and that's why there's an article called module.exports and exports. Oh, that's what it is. It's exports dot and then whatever you want to call it. So
yeah, it's literally the same thing. Exports is actually just an object, no matter how you put it.
So why? One of the things I actually don't know. Why is it module.exports and then export dot?
They're the same thing. Module.exports refers to the same object as exports, and exports at the end of the day is just an object.
Okay.
Or just a thing. It doesn't really matter what it is.
And I think, slight caveat, I think you said exports, but I think if you call it by itself, it's export, and then like to add a property onto it. So it would be export.sayhello, and
that's right.
Then bring this stuff down here. Or is it exports? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you did say it correctly. Exports.sayhello?
Oh, yep.
Okay, sorry. I corrected you for no reason. So all this is basically doing the same kind of thing. Like the thing that gets exported from this file, we want to put a property called say hello on it, and that thing is a function that we then import in here. And this works the exact same way because we're grabbing whatever the main thing that gets exported, and then on that we're grabbing or destructuring this property called say hello. And one more time, should run the same thing. I'm curious. Let me know. All right, for people who are maybe a little bit new to like export import syntax or require syntax in Node, did that help at all? Did that make sense? What questions do you have? Because I think that stuff is a little bit tricky, but at least we got it to work in a couple of different ways to show you, hopefully in a better light, what's going on.
So this whole exercise was just to show like how you can develop packages locally, right?
Mm-hmm.
JQQ test package only lives on your machine.
Yep.
So I think the next step in this demo could be, let's actually push it up to NPM by hand, and then NPM install it as a dependency.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Let's like clean up all of our symlinks that we just created before we kind of move on to the next phase, because you don't want to accidentally like continue using the symlinked version instead of the installed package version. So We're just going to do the reverse of that.
NPM unlink.
Yeah, that's it. And then you have to specify the package name here.
Okay.
No, here. Okay, so this is our JQQ package, just npm unlink.
Okay. So this is just taking it from like the global node modules thing. It's just taking that reference out of there. And then in my package tester,
yes, you have to
probably would go in here and now there I would run the same command with npm unlink instead of link.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Cool. This is awesome. Coriano's asking, what does export default do? That is on the front end browser JavaScript side. So that's getting into like import export versus module.exports or exports and the require syntax in Node. So you're talking about now the front end JavaScript, which again, that's the key of when you use which environment you're running in, front end browser JavaScript versus Node JavaScript. So that's the difference. So export default is kind of the equivalent to inside of in here saying module.exports equals something. That's kind of the default export. So whatever I specify here is the actual default export that comes back, as opposed to like named exports, where this is more like a named export where I'm kind of specifying like, here's the name of the function and you have to call it that or else you won't be able to get it.
Yeah, and I wrote in the chat just what's expected out of Node and what's expected out of the browser for importing and exporting.
Sweet.
Okay.
So I got an error here. I'm thinking this is because I removed the symlink first, and then now I'm trying to remove it from the tester, but it's no longer there anyway.
Yeah, so like if you run it like node app.js, it'll barf on you.
Okay. And
it doesn't exist anymore.
I'm going to remove the node modules folder just to kind of clean it up for sure. So then it shouldn't have anything that's trying to reference, I think. Or actually, I guess, no, it was a symlink, so it would have been gone anyway, right? I don't know.
It should be. So there's still like a symlink in there, but it should be pointing to like nothing at this point.
All right, sweet. So we're kind of back to scratch where we've just got our basic plugin, and now we want to actually package it or publish it.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you something kind of cool. Let me see. I think NPM has a publish dry run, or it was pack dry run. I can't remember which one. Do NPM publish help. Actually, I can grab your terminal maybe.
Do I need to share the terminal specifically?
Yeah, maybe not. That's okay. I've got one open here.
Okay.
So just looking at the help for the publish command, I'm trying to see. Yeah, there is a dry run. Perfect. Okay.
And I was just looking for free code camp's usually a good bet. Just an article here to paste in the chat for import versus require. So maybe that helps. All right. What are we doing?
Yeah. So I kind of want to go through like a dry run of what it would be like to publish this package. It's essentially already set up to go. If you look at package.json for NPM package test, this is going to be published under the global NPM namespace as JQQ test package version 1.0. And when you import it, you're going to get, or when you require it, you're going to get the contents of index.js. Okay. And that's what we want. We're good to go there.
Yep.
If you run npm publish space -- dry,
and I think I need to log in first.
You probably do.
I've never logged in through the terminal. So I didn't know this. At some point I had created an account. I have an account on, oh gosh, and I just changed the password to be more difficult with LastPass. Okay. Wow. Well, I assumed it was going to like open up the browser, but it didn't do that for me. I don't think this is going to show, but just in case somehow this shows, I'm going to move this to my other monitor real quick. Can I even paste that thing in?
Yeah. So while he's working on this, it's really important to secure your NPM account because people could be maliciously pushing code to NPM packages. So we've had security breaches in the past before where like common packages kind of got hijacked by other users who got rights to push to them. And so like even this thing as simple as left pad, which added like spaces to the left of a string, was a package that got used everywhere and then maliciously got taken over with like bad code inside of there. So like NPM is like very strict about like a lot of times they would ask you to put in two-factor authentication or something like that. It's a really, really good practice to do two-factor authentication if you're going to be publishing stuff that's public.
Yep, fair enough. All right, I think I'm logged in. So you were saying npm publish and then --
try -run. So this is going to show you what it's going to try to push up.
Okay.
If you kind of expand your terminal a little bit, it'll tell you how big the tarball it's going to create and the contents of it. Now, the contents is very
cool.
important. Think about any time you like import a package into React or that you're going to use in the browser, and you're very concerned about like, is my bundle size too big? Is this package going to be too heavy? This dry run here is going to tell you exactly what is going to get delivered when a user downloads your stuff
or requires.
Yeah. So, and we can create some other files, and I could show you how to exclude files if we want to do that. But let's just get this online first.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So this looks fine. You always get package.json, so don't freak out about that. It's a requirement because it specifies that package's dependencies. That's necessary for doing like npm installs. So this looks good. You can pretty much just push it. Npm publish.
Dun 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 dun. I still need to integrate like some really super cheesy music. Okay, looks like it's out there. So can I go to? Does it work like this? Like, do I have a landing page? No. Okay.
If you click on your avatar and go down to packages, that's probably the quickest way to see it.
Packages. Actually, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. So now you're live on npm. You can npm install this.
Yeah. Who wants to? Somebody in the chat. Raise your hand by commenting on the chat that you want to test this out. But go and I guess you do the same thing that we did, right, in our tester, where you would npm init in a new folder and then npm install that package, and then create a file that you will require that thing, and it'll look just like that one. So you could create an app.js with that code in it and run it with Node, and it should work. So
we should have left the side effect in there, so just from requiring it we'd get a console log. Great reason to push. Okay, this is a great reason to push a 1.0.1 or a 1.1.0, right? And Sweet. I'll show you kind of how to do that.
Okay.
So let's modify the code first. If we go over to index.js,
this one,
let's go ahead and just put a console log at the very, very top of the file.
Right.
Why don't we leave the say hello export and then in addition add like a side effect
like that?
Perfect. Yeah, and then just be like JQQ package test loaded or something like that. Cool. So just from requiring this, you should see that.
Okay. So that's up. And then I think what you were starting to get to is I've changed the source code. Anytime you publish, and maybe, can I try this? And will it just tell me that?
It'll yell at you. Yes.
Okay.
So go ahead.
So npm publish. It'll yell at me to say that there's a version that already exists out there. Cool. Forbidden. Publish versions. And let's say this is.
So before you do that.
Oh, okay.
If you leave it at 1.0, npm has this really cool thing called npm version, and then you could say minor.
Okay. So it's going to increment that thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So minor, and for people who aren't familiar, and I don't know this stuff that well, but we're talking about symvar, which is semantic versioning. and that's this
Yeah.
breakdown of these three numbers mean from left to right. Um, like big release. What's the name? Big release.
Yeah.
What's
So
the?
I can speak to this a lot because it's
Okay.
very, very important
Okay.
in the industry. So like
Major
it
release. That's
goes
what it is.
major,
Yeah.
minor, and
Bug
patch.
or
And when
patch or
you
bug.
bump patch or bug, yeah.
Okay.
Each of those numbers means something very specific.
Yep.
Major means there is a breaking change to the API for your users.
Yes.
If you make any breaking changes, you have to bump the major version.
Mm-hmm.
Minor versions are for features, and patch versions are for bug fixes or security fixes.
Yep. Awesome. And JC was asking, can you do a dry run on a vendor package? I'm not sure exactly. Like, are you just trying to see what files are in there?
I see what you mean. Like try to push NPM publish a package that already exists so we can see what's in there.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. But you could, like, one thing you could do is install the package and then just go look in the node modules directory and
Correct, yeah.
see what's in there. So you could do that.
And I think there's a thing called bundle phobia that cracks open packages, or like there's like a web pack inspector as well.
I'm sure,
Bundle
yeah.
Phobia, where I think you can just like look up any package.
Sweet. Let me know who else is in the chat. Like, if you're here, give yourself a shout out and leave a comment. Also, I didn't mention this. If you're in Podia watching this, I think it's in the directions or the comment on the page. Make sure you click on the actual YouTube icon, and then you'll be able to come to YouTube and ask questions in the comments. So if you've kind of felt like, oh, I'm not able to comment, you can click on that YouTube icon to get there, and then open up the chat.
So
yeah.
if you run npm version minor, what this is going to do for you automatically is bump the package version.
Cool.
If this is hooked up to a Git repository, this would also make a commit to the Git repository that does the same thing.
Okay.
So like you can, this is really helpful for like release processes where you can like, if you use this thing called semantic release, it can tell based on your commit messages if this should be a major, minor, or patch release. It'll run this command and then push that out.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Okay.
But now you're ready to deploy this. You've bumped the version, you've made your code changes. Now you can deploy again.
Baller. And actually, what I could do
Go ahead.
to test this is I could go over to my other package
we haven't tested it yet.
Yeah, and I could actually install this thing. So this will be npm install. And if someone watching has done this, let me know as well. All right, so what did we call that thing? JQQ test package. And this should do a real, just like any other legit package, install. After it's installed, then in my app.js, we'll actually see 2 console logs, I think, and no errors, hopefully. So node app.js. The first one, the first one is my taking over the world. Boom.
Yep.
And the second one is the testy test. And if I comment it out, actually, if I use nodemon, I don't even need to restart this every time. If I comment out to say hello, then I'll just get the message saying that the package was loaded. It's pretty dope.
Yep.
All right, so that was like crazy
Easy.
simple. Yeah, that's really cool. I have created a couple of VS Code extensions, and I think I'm missing something, but I've tried, and it's just not this easy. Like their documentation, I think that they actually have I think it's VSC, like VS Code, that library, but then there's like other stuff going on. So you can do a VSC publish. There's more to it, and I get confused, and I don't know what it is.
So this kind of, if we want to keep going, can move us into automation. I have GitHub Actions that automate publishing to NPM when you make a Git tag, and I have GitHub Actions that automate publishing to the VS Code extension marketplace when you create a Git tag.
Okay.
So that'll take care of that for you.
That's cool. I'd love to talk about that more. Maybe we do a VS Code extensions one later on.
Sure.
I'm gonna try to get maybe 15 more minutes or so. Keep this one a little bit shorter. The last couple I've done have run pretty long. Yeah, I think that'd be super cool. And I would love to have a more refined process for that. I've got one extension that lots of people or some people have used, and they say it didn't work, and it works on my machine, unfortunately, and I like have no idea what to do about it. And so I'm like, I'm sorry. And I think the comment was like, yeah, this guy doesn't maintain this. And I'm like, I just don't know what to do. So anyway, that's my life.
Let's
So
see. We could get this to work with NPX if you'd like.
yeah, and oh, cool. So funny that you mentioned that because Coriano just asked in the chat, can you explain a use case for NPX over NPM? Yes, let's take this the
Yeah.
NPX route. And NPX is the ability to run a package that's out there from your command line without actually installing it first. And
So,
go ahead.
like Coriano, here's like a really good use case. Um, I don't know if you write React. Oh, I suppose you do if you're working on James's course. So imagine how many times do you use create React app? Once in a blue moon, like how often do you spin up a new project? There's no reason why create React app has to be installed on your machine globally, sitting there getting out of date day after day, right?
Yep.
Because then the next time you have to use create React app, you go, oh man, I'm not on the right version. I have to update it globally, blah, blah, blah. NPX is like, yo, give me the latest code right now and run. That way, the packages just aren't sitting on your machine getting stale. NPX works very good for things you want to run like one and done. It doesn't work for like project dependencies. You know, like if you're installing packages that your software is going to use, they have to be installed with NPM and saved into that project's dependency list.
And you'll see like the documentation for Create React App says to use NPX instead of like installing it globally too. So you'll see that a lot. Yeah. So I'm gonna take a guess of.
Well, let's show
Sure.
that it doesn't necessarily work out of the box. So run
Okay.
npx jqq package test package.
NPX JQQ test package. That's a good point because I actually before this would have thought that would just work, but now that I think about it, it actually makes sense. So it just says command not found.
So npx means like it's short for like npm executable. Like the thing that you're running has to actually be executable on a system. So there's two things you have to do. And I'm going to go to one of mine and I always forget.
Is one of these things like the comment thing that goes at the top of the file to make it an executable?
The shebang, it's called. Yeah.
Again, like having worked in like IT, I've seen it, I've used it, and I've written bash scripts and stuff, which is not fun. So I've seen that before, but I imagine a lot of people have never seen that before and have no idea what it is.
So like the first thing you have to do is declare this as an executable, as like a on Linux, all the executables are put in this directory called bin. So package.json has an entry for that. If you head over to your package.json, you can type in add a new property called bin, which is an object where the property name is like the thing that you want it to be called. How about you put JQQ here?
Okay.
This will be the command that you enter in on the command line to run this. Or,
Okay.
Yeah, actually. And then you put the file that you want to run when JQQ is called. Index.js. Perfect.
Okay. And this
Now,
this gives you the reason this is an object is you can register different commands that can be run.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
You could have different entry points and like different, commands.
Okay. Awesome.
So this is fine and dandy, but like your system doesn't know that you want to run node index.js. See, package.json is just interpreting this as a file path. This isn't like a string to execute on your system. So this is only half of the battle. This is where you should be calling to run. If you go to index.js now, we're going to add in a line that's showing how to run it.
And you've still got, do you want to just type it in? Are you still connected?
I am no longer connected. It said the connection closed.
Did I break it?
I can paste it in our Zoom chat or kind of just spout it out.
You can, yeah, just yell it out. It's not too bad. But I couldn't do it from memory, so.
Yeah, no. So it's hashtag
Hashtag
exclamation point.
shebang.
Yeah, shebang. That's short.
Yeah.
Slash user slash bin slash env.
And it user is USR, right?
Yep.
Okay, so
And then space node.
node.
So this tells your system when you're executing this file, when this is invoked as a binary, use the node application to run this.
Yep.
Imagine if this was a Python application. This would be user
Same
bin
thing,
and
Python. Yep.
Right? This is just telling it what execution environment to use. NPX needs to know this to run this as an executable.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's it. You'll push a new version, like you'll have to npm version minor.
NPM version, which is debatable. I mean, this could be a major release. This is a big deal we just added. Now, there's no API changes. It's a big deal.
There's no
but
API changes. But yeah, if you want to version up major, you could do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do minor and then just npm publish. And I'm really digging how simple this workflow is. Yeah. I'm pretty optimistic because I literally came into this having no idea what it takes to publish a package. So I'm super stoked that it's this easy.
Yeah.
So in theory, what I can do is npx and then jqq test package. So that's going to grab like the specific package that I want to run a command from, and then from there run the jqq command.
I believe this should work. Sorry. No, it shouldn't be jqq on the end. It should know to use like the one bin entry. Fingers crossed.
So you would have to, so this might work, but that would only work if there's only one, right? Like you'd have to specify if there was more than one key in that object.
This is a good question.
Okay.
I'd have to check documentation on if you can actually put multiple values in that object, or if like the NPX uses, like NPX might be trained to say like, hey, only use the first one or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it defaulted to the first, but the reason, like the fact that they made it an object means that they have to be, like if it wasn't
more, essentially.
Right, yeah, because if it was just a key value pair, then it would be like the main thing was and only have one. I'm gonna run this while you're looking. I'm gonna try.
Do
it. It worked. Test package, and just so you know, my packages are legit taking over the world. So for people who are curious, do this, and actually while we're here, so someone run that command. And I will do, I'll add another file in here called index2.js. And I want this to look almost the same, except I'll get rid of the export and package, NPM package test command number 2 loaded. So this message will be a little bit different. Inside of my package.json, now I'm going to create a jqq2 command that will call the index2.js. Save that. Run a version upgrade of minor. Publish. And we'll see if what npm test package does by default. So if I don't add anything else. So it uses the first one. Now, if I run jqq2.
So I just looked up docs on this.
Okay. So it didn't work the way I thought it might.
So NPX, if there's a single entry in binary in bin, uses that. If there's multiple, you have to provide a flag telling it what to use. So the flag is -p.
And then the command?
And the package, so that it'd be npx-p jqq test package, then the name of the command.
Okay. So jqq test.
Kind of verbose. It's kind of weird.
That is, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's just one. I'm surprised that the flag doesn't come after the package name. That seems odd to me, but it's just the -p. So now it's running comment 2. So that, I mean, cool. So I'm really actually starting to think about, like, I could create myself some utilities that I could publish, and I just run from my command line to do, I don't know what, but I could just run the npx command, and I could have like my own personal utils, and have a bunch of different things. I could run command 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so on.
Yep.
And one of the things that I'm actually really interested in is doing stuff like this, not necessarily even through NPM, but more just focused on the fact that like you can define a node file to do anything. So the way you would have used, or we would have used, like bash scripts that worked, where I was like either FTPing a file or like doing it in VI, which sucks. I could write a file on my machine in JavaScript, and I could run it just like any other like bash command. And I could like, you can move files and you can download data, like whatever you wanted to do in JavaScript, you could do. So I've been like really interested in like some automated stuff with just leveraging it from that perspective. But now we've got it out there for the world to see, which is cool.
Now, mind you, this is very slow, right? It does an npm install on every run of npx
Sure.
that you call. It's very slow unless you install all these things globally up front.
Yeah.
Then you're set, right?
Okay.
And you just use them globally.
Makes sense. So maybe let's do 10 more minutes. And I would like to do, what was this command. So if you run npx Brad Garropy, you get Brad Garropy's business card here to show you links to stuff. So I just want to set that up really quickly and do.
It'd be a simple way to do is just like literally highlight that and control like see it, just copy it and then just jam it into like a backtick.
Yeah, fair enough.
Literal. Yeah, and just console log it.
And I was actually going to use the same stuff. I'm going to back out. I'm going to create a new thing for this, which I'm going to not put it in my delete me. I'm going to put it in my code. I'm going to make dir of James Q Quick. I mean, that's probably.
So the way I did this was I named my repository like business card, and then the NPM package inside of that repo is named your handle, James Q Quick.
Okay. So and this is like right now, I'm just naming the folder, but.
Yeah, exactly. Which that has no bearing on the NPM package name.
Right. Okay. Let me open this up and then I'll get to kind of test out these steps really fast of what we're doing. Yeah. So, I'm going to run an npm init. And I should have done -y because I'm going to keep that package name. Version 1 is cool. Description, this is my business card. Entry point index, yes. Test command, no. Git repo, not yet. I probably will. Author, James Q Quick. License, yes. And then I'll touch an index.js file, which I don't, like, where does touch come from? That seems like an odd thing to call that. And then in this case, I'm going to just log backticks of the information that you just showed in here. Will prettier format that for me? Maybe not. All right.
Oh, you get, yeah, okay. So I would, new line. Oh, man. Well, when you copy it again, if you could like copy the entire square all the way back to the left-hand side, that way you'll get all the leading spaces. There you go. Yeah, that should help. So, and then inside those backticks, go to a new line first and then paste it in.
All right. So new line, paste.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's
okay.
It's rough.
I'll update this later. But basically what you have. So I'm going to have James Quick and then Twitter and like this. Email is me at jamesqquick.com. And I'm not going to worry about any formatting at all. I do want to do this later on, make it a little cooler. But that's basically the information that I want people to see right now, and probably actually website. So HTTPS James Q Quick. That's good enough for me. So there it is. The other thing we're missing is the shebang, because we want this to be able to run like that. And then inside of the package.json, we need to add the command to be able to run this as a binary. So this is
correct.
This thing. And paste in, I don't need that. And then the command, in some ways, it doesn't even matter what I call this.
Yeah, it really doesn't when there's a single.
Mm-hmm.
And then just confirm your package name. That's what you want when you push it up.
This thing. Yeah.
Yep.
What did you call? What was your package? Is it just Brad
The
Garropy?
the trend is to make it just your handle. Yeah.
Okay.
This was kind of like a Twitter developer thing for a while.
Okay. And missed a question from Boogie Bomb. Maybe this is outside of the scope, but here it goes. Ask away. I'm on a Windows machine and can't run MPX files. Something to do with a space in my machine name. Any workarounds?
So I'm on Windows.
Yep, go
I
ahead.
don't have a space in my machine name. Can you change the machine name, right? Like that. Hopefully that wouldn't mess with too much. But yeah, I've never run into that issue.
Yeah, I had an issue with something the other day where I had a colon in my repo in GitHub. So it was my build a quiz app, and it had like each section had the source code for after each video. And one of them I had a colon in, and someone had commented, which was like months ago. So I didn't pay attention very well. But one of them had a colon, which doesn't work on Windows in a file or a folder path. So they had an issue with that. All right.
Yeah,
so
I haven't actually switched over to WSL, Windows Subsystem Linux. I'm
yeah.
just using raw, plain, like Git Bash, basically.
Yeah. I might, we talked about like my issues and stuff earlier. I might have to look into this more, but that's a whole nother conversation. So here's package name is just my name. Version 1, this is my business card. It's able to run a binary, which is the index.js file, which is just a console log of a few different pieces of information. And that looks like, in theory, it should be good. So if I do an npm publish dry run, I can see it's going to grab the package.json and the index.js file. Great. And then just npm publish.
Looks good.
And Boogie Bum says machine doesn't have a space but a hyphen. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I really don't know either.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Those are some of the shitty things as a developer that it just sucks when things like that pop up, to be honest. Can't change machine name without a fresh install. I was wondering if that was an easy thing to fix. I didn't know how that worked or not. All right. On a slightly more positive note, in theory, I could be able to run npm npx James Hugh Quick, and this should do something, which is print out my info. Cool. And I think there's packages that you can use to like do colors and stuff in here too. So I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, that's what I did. It's called Chalk.js.
Okay.
It's just a way to like output terminal colors, but things get real complicated real quick, especially when you want to draw those boxes. They are very specific, like Unicode characters. Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
It's like different than a dash and a vertical pipe. There are these special box drawing characters. And I went to Wikipedia to find all these, and that's how I got the fancy corners and all that stuff.
Okay. Well, I'll look at that probably a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But this is exactly what I wanted. Hopefully people that are in the chat, you learned a little bit as well. I think like my thing is like I know JavaScript, right? I didn't know this specific piece. I learned, we just did the basics, right? Like this is super, super basic. There's nothing, not a whole lot to what we did, but the idea is like I've got the basics now. I've also got this like really good knowledge in JavaScript. Now I can combine it and do whatever the hell I want and create something really powerful and cool and leverage it in whatever way makes the most sense. Sweet. Well, let me know if anyone in the chat, if you have any last minute questions or thoughts. Sorry, Boogie Bum, we couldn't help you with the machine name. That sucks. But if you have anything else, let me know. I guess we have to kill 30 seconds or so for the delay to see if anything comes through. Brad,
I would say like a very natural part 2 to this would be one, learning about the files property in package.json to understand how you can include or exclude certain files.
Okay.
That becomes valuable when you're trying to minimize bundle size. And then is how do I hook this up into CI/CD? How do I write a GitHub action that does an npm publish when something happens in my repo? So
this is my problem with content. I want to do a part 2 to do just that, like tomorrow. And I was telling Brad before we got on or went live, I feel like I have too many streams and I don't know how to like promote. I feel like I'm just like sending out all these things that I'm doing, but like if I put that on the end of the list of upcoming streams, like we're talking like 2 or 3 months out, which just like I want to do that. It sounds so cool. It sounds perfect. So anyway, let me
Or you
know.
could basically copy and paste what's in the file I just linked, and then.
Oh well, yeah. I don't.
Yeah, that's the other way to do it.
I don't imagine like I would have too much of an issue like doing it myself, but for other people to like, I'm excited to share that and learn it with other people as well. So anyway,
yeah, GitHub Actions are awesome.
I've got to dive into that, which will be a lot of fun. So anyway, Boogie Bum, thanks for being here. Coriano was asking a bunch of questions. Thanks for everybody else that checked in. It's good to hang out. I will send a recap email to everyone, and I would love to hear if you have feedback on things that you would like to see in the morning, or not in the morning. I will be like living my own personal life in the morning, but things that you'd like to see in follow-up webinars. I want to continue. I don't know if it'll be every week, but I want to continue to do these. I have fun, and I think I can help people learn things, maybe potentially as I learn them as well. So anyway, I have a lot of fun. Brad, thanks for hanging out, man. I'm glad that we have gotten to just talk so much, and we've still never met each other in person, but I feel like we have so much in common. We enjoy hanging out and talking and teaching and learning with each other. So thanks again for being here.
For sure. Boogie or Coriano, for sure, unit testing is a great thing to check out. That'd be another good one.
Yeah, that would be. That's testing is something that's actually top of mind for me, of something I need to spend a little bit of dedicated time with this year. I started some of our testing stuff at FedEx, and I know theories. I have not executed very much at all on testing.
Yeah, it can go deep.
Yeah,
it's easy to get into, but then you can go real deep.
But then hard to get out.
Yeah.
Do you have? I don't know. I don't know if you have anything that's top of mind on how to test. Kensey Dodds is like the testing person.
Kensey Dodds, he has a great article that says like how, like, I want to add testing to my app. How do I do it? And he basically gives you like, this is a great 1, 2, 3 of your first 3 steps to get into testing on an app.
Okay. Do you mind trying to find that link?
Yeah,
I'm totally linking his testing JavaScript course, which I forget how much I mean, it's for me pretty expensive, I think, but like this is going to be the best resource you get in testing if you're interested. So he's got a couple of different versions or levels here. You could check that out. And then Brad, if you could grab that link for the article and throw it in there if you have it, that would be useful as well. Oh, did you already put it in the chat?
Yeah. Yeah, this talks about how to add testing to an existing like web project or really any project, JavaScript project.
Am I just not seeing it? Did you put it in the YouTube chat?
Yeah, I don't get I put it in the YouTube chat. I don't get the fancy link highlights like you do.
But I don't see it at all.
Oh, delay? Chat delay?
I don't know. You just posted. Huh, I don't know.
I put one in Zoom and one in YouTube.
Yeah, it's not showing up. This is not a big deal, but it's like not showing up in YouTube at all for me.
But Coriano came right after me with about the last name of Scott for React.js resources.
Scott Talinsky.
Totally.
Yeah.
Scott Talinsky. His place is leveluptutorials.com.
And if you do enough research, where are on the tutorials? Which, Brad, I didn't realize until reading the article that you posted that this is where you found out about me, actually.
Totally. Yeah. I was really wanting to learn more about Firebase, and your course just hit home there.
Sweet. And it was like, didn't dive too deep at all into the React or the Firebase stuff, but it was just enough to like kind of get started and get connected. So this is a familiar face. This is my course, React and Firebase on Level Up Tuts, which was a huge accomplishment for me because Scott is like so revered and makes his living off of creating courses. So that was a blast to be able to participate in that. So there's Corey. Hopefully that's enough resources to keep you busy for a while. If you have any questions after that, feel free to send me a DM or a text or something, and I'll definitely hook you up. Brad, thanks again, man. It's good to hang out. And I mean, we talk like every other day at least on Twitter or something for some reason or another. So I'm sure we'll see each other soon.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks everybody for being here, and I'll catch you next time.